Did you make it?
What?
Are you all right?
Perfect. Now it's your turn. Wait for a break and dive through. Be careful, those violins are scratchy.
All right. Here I go. Coming through. Oh. Wow. Whoa. Oh.
Kleine?
I made it.
Excellent.
The crescendo took me downwind a little.
You handled it very well.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Well, here we are on the other side of the music. What now?
What do you mean?
What now? What's the prune?
You mean what's the plan?
Prawn.
Plan.
Poon.
Plan.
Exactly. What's the plan?
Now we carry out our mission.
What mission?
The mission.
I can't remember.
The top secret red alert classified confidential mission.
Oh, I still can't remember.
I have it right here. Top secret. Red alert, blah, blah, blah. By order of the Deputy Prime Minister, Department of Secret Missions, blah, blah, blah. Citizens Eine and Kleine.
That's us.
To leave the land of Ruken in search of our beloved King Mozart, who disappeared so long ago.
His Majesty King Mozart.
Exactly.
We're supposed to find him.
And bring him back to Ruken.
Excellent idea. Where do we start?
There's a valley just over that phrase, and if we can get to the top, we can slide down the violas.
Excellent, Eine. You go first.
No, you go first. You.
Okay.
1,
2, 3. Whoa! Some ride.
I'll say. Psst, Kleine.
What?
Do you see what I see?
Is that a trick question?
Over there.
A woman?
Good guess.
What's that long table she's sitting at?
Search me. Let's ask.
Okay, you first.
No, you first.
You.
Okay.
Why is it always me?
'Cause I say so.
Oh.
Go on.
Excuse me, ma'am.
Oh, goodness. Oh, you quite startled me. Well, I wasn't expecting you until tomorrow.
You weren't?
Oh, no matter. This will work quite satisfactorily. Might even be better. Now, where shall we begin?
Well, madam, we certainly had no intention of interrupting, but we wondered if we might pose a question.
Well, of course. More than one, I imagine. Well, you needn't be so formal with me. You know I'm quite easy to get along with, and that is, unless you're one of my piano students. Ask away.
What's that table you're sitting at?
Why, it's a piano. You mean to say you've never seen one before?
That's a piano? I mean, of course we've seen one.
What my colleague means is we've heard pianos before.
Exactly. Where we come from, the music floats by all the time.
How very odd. Well, you can't have the music without the piano. See these black and white keys?
Uh-huh.
When I push down on them with my fingers... I've never seen anything like it. You're ticklish to music.
Oh, not all music.
No, just what you were playing. That was a tickly kind of piece.
Now that you mention it, it is a tickly kind of piece. Well, this is amusing. You're not at all what I expected. Usually, people from the Historical Society are so stuffy.
Historical Society?
Yes, Mr. Postlethwaite told me to expect you, though you are a day early. My goodness, what can I have been thinking of? We haven't even introduced ourselves. I am Maria Anna Mozart.
Mozart?
But I hope you'll feel free to call me Nannerl.
Certainly, Miss Mozart. I mean, Nannerl.
And your names are?
Would you mind excusing us for a moment?
Not at all. I'll just get back to my playing.
Did you hear?
She said her name was Mozart.
Maybe she knows our king. We better investigate.
But what about the hysterical calliope?
Historical Society. You know, where they ask questions about history, olden day stuff.
So she thinks we're somebody else.
We'll have to go along with it and hope she doesn't ask us straight out.
But we can't just go...
Just don't ask any stupid questions.
Badger.
Roger.
Roger, I meant Roger.
Now, Miss Mozart.
Please, Nanerl.
Mineral.
And your names are?
Eine.
And I'm Kleine.
Eine and Kleine? How curious.
Yes, we are curious.
Well, I suppose you would be with the Historical Society and all.
Yes, well, about this Mozart business.
Were there any kings in your family?
Kings? Oh, no. You do ask unusual questions.
So you never knew any kings?
We knew some, yes. My brother Wolfgang and I met many kings and queens in our travels.
And what tramples are those?
Travels.
Travels. And what kings and queens exactly?
Well, I do hope you'll forgive me, but it's very difficult to jump into a story in the middle, unless it's into the middle of his name, which was Amadeus, you know.
Middle of whose name?
Why, my brother Wolfgang's. You did come to hear about him, didn't you?
Of course. Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart.
He wasn't a king, was he?
A king? No, he was a composer. Perhaps we've got our appointments muddled.
Not at all. Mozart, the composer.
One of the greatest composers that ever lived.
We'd like to hear about him.
Yeah, what's a composter? Ow.
What?
He means what's a composer, from your point of view.
I see. Well, he made up music and wrote it down. Lots of music, all different kinds. Symphonies, concerti, quartets, operas.
Hoppers?
Operas where they sing.
I get it.
For example, here's one of the first pieces he composed, an Allegro.
I bet he was really old to write that. At least 22.
Oh, much older than that. 33.
Quite wrong. Both of you, he was a child when he wrote it, only 6 years old. I remembered it because I was only 10.
Impossible.
I don't believe it.
6 years old. And that's just one little Allegro. He composed hundreds of pieces as a child and later when he grew up. He was a true genius. And that's why we performed for kings and queens.
Oh, yeah. You will tell us about that part of the story.
Yes, of course I'll tell you everything. And I'll play some of his music as well. That's really the most important part. But we must begin at the beginning.
We're all ears.
All ears.
Well, my brother Wolfgang was born in 1756.
Ah, sounds very historical.
I was 4 years older. We lived in Austria, in a town called Salzburg. This is what Salzburg was like, high in the Austrian mountains. Above the town, there was a big stone castle, and the cathedrals had tall spires which would poke above the narrow streets.
I can see it.
Yeah, me too. Look, Eine, over there. There's a river, and it's going right through the town.
Curvy, like a snake.
Mm-hmm.
In the winter, there was lots of snow, and we rode around on sleighs. In the summer, horses would pull the carriages over the cobblestone streets. We got our water from a well and kept the house warm with a fire in the wood stove. And that was Salzburg. There was always music in our house because our father Leopold was a music teacher. He taught me how to play the piano, And Mozart, well, even when he was only 3 years old, he would stop his games and stand stock still outside the music room, soaking up the sounds. Then, when my lesson had finished, he would sneak in and try to play himself, exploring the sounds of different notes, looking for the ones that sounded sweet together, hunting for the thirds.
What's a third?
It's a space between 3 notes. Here, I'll show you. There are 7 notes in the major scale. You count them with me.
1,
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
And back to 1 again. And if you skip the second note and jump right to the one after, it's called a third. 1, skip 2, go to 3.
Oh.
Again, 1, skip 2, go to 3. Here, you try it.
Oh,
All right.
kind of nervous.
1, skip 2, go to 3.
Ready? Let's do it again.
1, skip 2, go to 3.
3.
We got it.
Let
We
me
got
do it
it. Good.
Wolfgang would find the thirds just by listening. Tell me when you hear it.
I don't think so.
No? No. No way. Nah, forget it.
That's it.
Oh, yeah, there it is. I knew I'd hear it.
I got it first.
And you can put them together to make chords.
Oh.
That's pretty.
Mm-hmm.
There, and then make up a tune to go with the chords. Wolfgang was just 4, our father started giving him formal lessons at the piano. He learned very quickly, but what was even more amazing was that before long he was making up his own music and asking Papa to write it down for him because he didn't yet know how. He seemed to just steal the sounds that he heard around him and turn them into music, like his hobby horse.
What's an hobby horse?
Hobby horse.
A hobby horse? What is it?
You know what a hobby horse is? A stick with a wooden horse's head. You pretend it's a real horse, and the stick bangs on the floor like the clop-clop of the horse's hooves.
Oh, yeah, that kind of hobby horse.
Mozart would ride his hobby horse up and down the halls for hours at a time, and then later I would hear the beat of the horse in some music he had written. Can you hear it?
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Without a doubt.
When I really listen, there's no end to what I can discover in his music.
It is lovely. Are we closer to the part about the kings?
Yeah, we do want to hear about the kings and the queens.
Patience, patience, please. If I don't go in order, then I lose my place and get terribly flustered and forget things altogether. Oh. You wouldn't want to report to the Historical Society without all the information, would you?
I suppose not.
So, where was I? Oh, yes, the violin.
I thought he played the
piano.
Like you.
And so he did. But a friend of Papa's had given him a little violin as a present. And one day, when Papa was about to play some music with 2 old friends, Wolfgang ran into the room with his violin and asked to be allowed to play. Papa was annoyed. "Wolfrl, you haven't even had 1 lesson. You cannot expect to play with adults." My brother begged and pleaded. "Please, Papa, please let me try. It's not hard to play the second violin part." Finally, Papa gave in. "All right, you can play, but it must be so softly that you don't bother us with your scratchings, or out you go."